Okay, do you have your pen and paper out? Because the notes app is not gonna cut it today. Today, I'm gonna teach you how to harness your black cat energy. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Sounds a little scary, a little witchy. Don't have to worry about that over here. We're not doing anything too crazy. But if you have been struggling with your confidence and you wanna feel like you have a hold on your life, not always watching things happen to you or wishing that one day you'll accomplish certain dreams, but that you will have control over your life and control over your day today, then keep on watching this video. For my makeup look today, I did the black cat energy aesthetic, and I thought what more perfect of a theme to talk about than black cat energy. So, what is black cat energy? This type of mindset is all about independence, confidence, a little bit of mystery, and definitely unapologetically being yourself. As a woman, I feel like it can be very difficult to feel confident and secure in your own skin. One, because we have a lot of ways to accessorize ourselves, which can be good, but also can be bad. For instance, makeup, hair, nails, clothes, plastic surgery, and a lot of these things men do as well, but the difference is women are typically expected to have these things. You're expected to have everything all done up. Otherwise, you're gonna get those questions like, oh, you don't look too good. Are you okay? Are you sure you're feeling good? You look tired. And we all know that those are the worst things we could ever hear about ourselves. And even if you were confident going out without makeup or doing anything too crazy to yourself, start to question if you truly feel confident in yourself. Well, not to fear. Coming from a strong makeup lover myself, you do not have to worry about giving up the fun things in life or having to do those things in order to feel beautiful, but you just need to shift your mindset about how you view yourself and how you view others. So let's take a black cat, for instance. They are gorgeous, of course. I have a beautiful cat myself. I don't think she's around today. She's probably sleeping in my closet. She's not a black cat, but cats give off very similar vibes in this way. Of course, a black cat looks very feminine and gorgeous, so I'm sure that's where the name of this aesthetic came from, for that dark feminine energy. Also, if you've ever been around cats or have a cat, you probably are aware that they are very in tune with themselves. They know exactly what they need. They take care of themselves and clean themselves. And most importantly, they do not need your validation to feel loved. That is why it is very suspicious anytime somebody says they do not like cats. Because what do you mean? Do you need that validation from a pet that obeys your every command and loves you just because you're their owner? That's strange. But in the same way that cats are not intimidated by people and know their value and know that the reason they even have a home to stay in is because they are a very beautiful accessory to the home. And in fact, they do not have to do much in order to live rent-free. So this is not going to be some crazy advice like how to get a man to pay all your bills, but it is a really great mindset to apply to your life, especially for those of us who struggle with people pleasing or feeling like a doormat in life. And you don't need to have that black cat energy 24/7, but it is very important to learn how to access it when needed. As many of you know, I love doing creative makeup. Recently, I've been working on my Coraline series. I just did the full creative look for the cat from Coraline. Absolutely love him. And he totally gives off those vibes that he comes and goes as he pleases, even though the other mother, the evil character in the movie, has tried so hard to get rid of him. He says he can do basically whatever he wants, and that's why he doesn't have the button eyes, if you're familiar with the Coraline movie. And so I just love that character for many, many reasons. But I thought it would be so fun when I do my inspired look that I would do the black cat energy makeup. And we're gonna get into the lifestyle aesthetic changes that you can make to fully harness the black cat energy vibes. But a lot of this does have more to do with your mindset rather than the style. But the style is, of course, very fun as well. That's why I love makeup so much. So as a girl, I think we all have our unique experiences growing up in life. And I know that there is a stereotype that I think is so silly and honestly can be very demeaning. But if you've ever heard of the statement, oh, that's fatherless activities, or she's fatherless, those statements are obviously meant to be demeaning towards women. But I will say that the reason that may hold any kind of truth, that as a girl or a woman that is more male-centered and always needing the male validation, that's typically the situation that is occurring when someone says, oh, she's fatherless, or of course she doesn't have a dad. So as sad as that is, we do know that that can be true, of the idea when you don't have a parent figure or parent in your life that doesn't tell you, hey, you're strong, you're beautiful, you don't need a man in your life. You're an independent, strong woman that can take care of themselves. When you don't have somebody throughout your whole childhood making that very clear and making you feel protected and seen, it can cause you to feel like you need that validation from other people. And so if there's anything we're gonna learn from Black Cat energy, it is the idea that you don't need other people's validation. And I just love that. I think the idea that you need to go throughout this world and have a chip on your shoulder and basically be a B word is not the right idea. That's not what we're going for here, although I do think that gives Black Cat energy for sure. But what we do want is to feel secure and confident in ourselves, and to know that just because you're a girl or a woman, it doesn't mean that you're bossy or annoying or nagging just because you know what you want in life. I think that that's actually very important and very crucial to a woman's success. Before you want to go out into the world and do all these things or meet these people, I think it's so important to get to know yourself and to know what you want in life. Just walking aimlessly without any kind of direction can cause a lot of issues and a lot of unnecessary mistakes. Something that I think is so funny is I have always been a very independent little girl since I was little. So luckily, this is something that I haven't struggled with too much, of feeling like I need attention from others or needing to be a part of a group. I very much was like the solo independent type of person, and I still am. But something crazy happened. One day when I was 18, I met my husband. So we all can see where that already went. I'm married now. That can seem contradicting to the idea of being an independent woman, but it actually supports the idea of why being independent and having that Black Cat energy is way more about your mindset rather than the idea of just being like super standoffish and basically a B word. So let me tell you, and I'm sure we've all gone through this phase, but when I was little, I never wanted to get married, never liked the idea of boys. In fact, I was kind of a tomboy, and I was always obsessed with the idea of just accomplishing things myself. Like, I can do it myself. I don't need anybody. I don't want to do what other people are doing. I specifically would like the most random colors and movies and things just so I could be different and stand out. And as strange as that made me as a little kid, it really did help me be myself and choose my own path in life, which I am very grateful for. And I am very privileged with that experience to be able to know my value and my worth at a very young age that I know a lot of little girls did not get. So that is why I want to share this with you today, that when I met my husband, of course, at a very young age, I think that is where, unfortunately, a lot of girls can go wrong in life, is that they think the idea of having a crush or a boyfriend is just so cute and such a fun thing to do, but unfortunately, that can lead you down a very dangerous path, especially at a young age. You probably don't fully know yourself yet, which, do we ever? Not really. But that is just clearly such a young age to be in a relationship. Also, I feel like you can easily be controlled and manipulated at that young age. And it is all the more reason why I think you really should be independent and single for as long as you can. But if you do meet somebody, do know that at any age, which I wouldn't suggest dating in high school, but say you do meet somebody at 16, whatever, again, highly discouraged. But when you do eventually get in a relationship, I do suggest you take that seriously. I know that society likes to make relationships be super funny, and it's so funny that you have a little boyfriend or that you have a crush, but really that harmless label that we place on crushes and relationships makes those relationships very dangerous and toxic later on. I'll give you an example. I knew many girls in high school who had been already in all kinds of relationships, which this is not to judge anybody by any means. I am just saying this goes to show how important it is to understand your value and be comfortable being in your own skin so that you don't get into these toxic situations. Anyways, knew very many girls that would get in all these types of relationships in high school, and it would get to the point where they were barely with this person. And of course, looking back, being much older now, it is so silly that these girls would be with these boys and thought they were everything, and they really are just like little kids. Like, it's crazy. But It very much felt real to them in that time, where boys would tell them, you can't get that piercing, or you can't wear your makeup like that, or don't wear clothes like that. And it was all these rules and controlling, very toxic behaviors that were already conditioning young girls to get used to. Because why? Because this was not a very serious relationship. They didn't see themselves actually getting married to this person. But why were they taking these commands then from somebody if this wasn't a real serious relationship? Or if they knew they were not old enough yet to even like live on their own or have their own jobs or careers. The reason is because when you enter into a relationship, not taking it too seriously, there really are no boundaries that you're setting with that other person. And because you're not setting any boundaries, you're probably not taking the time you need, the crucial time that you need to get to know yourself, especially at that young age. Entering into a relationship where somebody else is telling you who you are or who you should be. And by the time you get through it, hopefully you get out on the other side of a toxic relationship or not stuck in it forever. But when you do get through it, you will feel damaged. You will feel like you do not know who you are, and you will probably most likely repeat the cycle. And we see this time and time again in life where it just feels like women get beat down. And I know that we make our own decisions and choices in life, but I think that it's very difficult to make sound and complete choices when you do not know who you are as a person. And so again, this goes to all kinds of mindsets, and this can apply to a lot of different ways of self-help and things to help grow your confidence. But since our topic today is Black Cat energy, I just want you to know that even though this is like a silly little Pinterest aesthetic, it really is important to know your value and to feel completely secure in yourself. So this idea that you don't need anybody does not mean necessarily to not ever be in a relationship. And if you are in a relationship, it doesn't mean that you're automatically not an independent woman. Again, as somebody who met their now husband at a very young age, I very much still discourage being in relationships at a young age, but I probably have one of the healthiest relationships, at least that I've ever seen in my life, which I guess I'm not comparing my relationships to anything too great, but the idea is that I very much am in a very, very healthy relationship, and my husband is my everything, but he's not my identity, and I don't put my identity in him. So if you hear this often, oh, I'm so-and-so's wife, or always referred to somebody's girl or girlfriend, I just very much dislike that title, and my husband feels the same way, but mainly because I was very secure in who I was as a person when I met him. And how secure could I possibly be at 18? Not too secure, but secure enough that I did not attract somebody that was looking to manipulate and control someone. My husband is a very loving, golden retriever energy type of person. And I think that's when you watch these kind of Black Cat energy videos, the whole idea is like how to get a man to chase you type of vibes, how to get a golden retriever husband. So it's funny because this is not that video, but that is indeed who I got in life. So maybe that works. But what I will say is that I was very secure in myself as a young person, in the idea that I did not need anybody. I didn't need male validation. In fact, I hated it. And when people would ask me out or say, I don't know, certain things to me, like cat calls or saying, oh, so-and-so likes you, so-and-so wants to ask you out to this dance, I dreaded it. I would absolutely say no immediately, and I was not afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. As a girl, you cannot be afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. If somebody comes up to you and asks for your number, and they are not somebody that you're looking for, or you are not looking for somebody at this time, even if this person is not like the ugliest, or you could see yourself maybe having a future with them, if you know yourself at that time that you made a promise to yourself that you are not going to be in a relationship or that you're not ready for one, your actions need to start following your statements, so that way you can truly trust yourself. Because when you say, yeah, I don't need a man right now, and then next weekend you're talking to 10 guys just because they gave you some sort of attention, you are teaching yourself that you can't trust yourself. And so therefore, when you do get into scary, toxic situations, you do not know whether there are green or red flags because you have completely lost the ability to trust your own intuition. So On your pen and paper, write down the things that you struggle with right now and the situations that you are finding yourself in. Next to those struggles, write down what you would tell a friend to do to get out of those situations. I think sometimes we're scared to say the hard things because we are scared that we're going to be hypocritical, or that when we do decide, hey, yeah, I want to be single, I'm not going to be in a relationship, and you're scared to tell people that because you know that you might be in one next week if the right opportunity provided itself. That's okay. That means then you're open to one. But if you truly aren't open to one, then you need to stick with that, and you need to trust yourself and give yourself a timeline. And the same thing goes if you are in a relationship and you are early on in a relationship. This is what I tell everybody is, it's not necessarily bad to like date younger or whatever. Like, you don't need to wait till you're 30, right? I feel like that's unrealistic. But the idea that you say, hey, I will walk away from a situation when it is not respecting me and it is not respecting my boundaries, that is something bold, but very, very helpful to stick with. So I pride myself in sticking to my boundaries. And I think when you learn to do that at a young age, you can do that in a lot more difficult situations throughout adulthood. So me, when I met my husband, Diego, there were a couple issues in the very first 3 months. And I always tell myself, like, the faster you break up with somebody, the better your life can be. Not in a toxic way, but when you are in a relationship and it's very, very early on in the relationship, this does not apply to long-term relationships that are actually otherwise healthy, but a problem arises, of course you need to work through it. But going back to the black cat energy, when you are in a relationship and it's only been a couple months and you are not feeling like this person respects you, or they have repeatedly disrespected or crossed the boundaries that you have set, you need to cut it off immediately. There is no shame in breaking up with somebody. And in fact, I believe that the woman should always be the one to break up with a man, because unfortunately, there are just a lot more better women than men out there. So with those statistics that I just pulled out of my head, I would say that it is very, very good and will make you feel very confident when you know that somebody is not the one to be with. You need to cut off ties. As soon as somebody cheats, there's no reason you should ever get back with that person. And if you find yourself trying to break no contact or messaging them again or wishing things could work out, or maybe they've changed, they haven't. And you know what? Even if they do, you don't have to be the one to wait for them. And I think that's the type of mindset that you really need to get practice getting into. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens throughout the choices that you make, especially during the difficult times. So when it's very difficult to say no to somebody, or to make a boundary, or to stick with that boundary, those are the key, essential, crucial times to actually practice this mindset. Otherwise, you can all day say, yeah, I'm independent and I'm a boss girl and I don't let anybody tell me what to do. And then as soon as a man comes in your life, it all goes out the window. I know that we all have been in that situation, so it's okay. You don't need to be too hard on yourself, but I will say that nothing is going to change in your life. And in fact, your life may just get worse and worse if you never decide to really stick to your values during the difficult times. During those times where it feels like you should give in, or where you should maybe loosen up a little bit or be more flexible, that is exactly how you will find yourself in very toxic situations and relationships. So if you take away anything from this video, it is to set your boundaries and stick with them. If you do that more and more in life, you will prove to yourself that you are trustworthy and that you are confident, that you are capable of making great decisions and therefore able to accomplish your dreams. So if you have any goals in life, right, like academically, career-wise, relationship-wise, if you have any sort of dreams or goals, it really doesn't matter if you don't get your mindset right. And I think so many times as a girl, people want to tell us who we are or who we should be, even like the trends, which as much as I love, right, like playing with makeup, I don't even wear this type of makeup all the time. It's just a fun trend that I did. Like, there's just too many things telling us who we should be. If we are not doing the work to tell ourselves who we are, or having God tell ourselves who we are, then we are really in for it, and we are really just trying to see where life will throw us. And I think that is a horrible situation to be in when you are so young. You have all the options and time in the world to figure out who you are and feel confident in that and love that. And you know, when one day you have more and more beautiful relationships and maybe even a family and children of your own, imagine what your future daughters would think of you. Do you want them to think, oh, I'm so sorry for my mom. I feel so bad that she is in a terrible relationship, or that she wants to get out of the relationship that she's in currently, or that all her family members step all over her, or that her friends don't really care about her, or that her own kids feel responsible for the weight of her emotional needs. These are all things that are, first of all, very traumatic for children, but second of all, very, very preventable if you decide to really take your life seriously and take time learning to love yourself. So when other people are in your life who do love you, they can truly love you for who you are and truly take care of you because you understand what kind of love you need because you've been practicing loving yourself. So none of this needs to be scary, and the black cat energy definitely does give off very serious vibes, but really what this kind of energy is loving yourself. It's truly learning how to love yourself and learning what you need so that way you can fully love others in your life because you've learned what it took to love yourself. Okay, let's get into the black cat energy aesthetic. Okay, as you can see, my makeup look is giving off sultry, dark, cool tone vibes, and I absolutely love it. The tutorial can be found on my Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. And everything when I look at Pinterest for black cat energy, of course, is gonna have a lot of black, but it's also just like a lot of cool tones, and it's very professional and serious, but in your own aesthetic. So for instance, I think this is very similar, or can be very similar, to the Office Siren aesthetic, where you have kind of like a going out casual fit, but you make it preppy. So you have like the black pinstripe button up, or like the black slacks paired with like a cute top, and everything is just very minimalistic but edgy. And I think it's very cool because it's very much not trying to fit into the norm of being super girly or giving the male gaze, which that's also not bad. But if you're trying to have the black cat energy aesthetic, I do notice that it has a lot more to do with feeling powerful and more serious and having people take you seriously than it does being like traditionally beautiful or pretty, which love. Right? As a female, I feel like that is all I need to hear, and I'm all for it. It is very much like taking time to be almost like more mature and really be in your feminine vibes in a responsible and serious take charge way. So I love like the kitten heels with like the slacks and like maybe like a little button up top, or even something flowy but just more like the cool dark tone colors. For the makeup, love a skinny brow. I even like messed around with these ones. Are obviously like I blocked my brows to do these, but I've also like shaved my brows to be a little bit thinner just in general, and I really love the look. So even like trying to spruce up certain areas of your face that you typically don't change much, just like shaving your brows, not plucking them, because then you may go to the point of no return. But shaving them is fun to just see like a different style or a different shape. Also, of course, having like the eyeliner. Eyeliner can be a very treacherous journey because one, if you're not very good at eyeliner, which I, believe it or not, I'm not very good at eyeliner, you can go layers and layers and layers of eyeliner to try to finally get the other eye to match. And before you know it, you just have like a giant black rectangle hanging off of your eyes. So that can be dangerous, but also too because you may fall in love with the look of eyeliner so much that you may never want to go out without it. But that's not necessarily a terrible thing. If that's what you want your style to be, then that is stunning, but also know that you're gorgeous without it too. The whole point of an aesthetic and makeup is not to rule or control your life. It is just to have fun and have another way to express yourself. And you would never know without trying it. That is what is so exciting about trying different looks and different makeup and different clothing and styles, is because you really get to get a good idea, first of all, of what looks good on you, but what you feel good in. And I think that goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning, where as somebody who really likes makeup, I did struggle with the idea of like, is this making me insecure, or does that make me insecure that I like to wear makeup or like to dress up? Because how do I feel about myself on the days that I don't? that is something that you definitely can practice. And I know a lot of women, especially like even some celebrities now, are making a point to go out without makeup so that they prove to themselves and to the world that they feel confident and beautiful even without those things, which I absolutely love that. And I don't think that's necessary in order to tell yourself that you feel beautiful even without makeup. Like for me, honestly, if I ever went to like, you know, big events and things like that, I probably would never show up without makeup. And not because I don't feel beautiful without makeup, but I just really love makeup. It's like, why would you deny yourself of something that is healthy? Like it's not a bad thing to wear makeup. Yet like now, of course, you're not going to feel good because it's like forcing myself not to do this. Or especially if somebody's controlling you and they're saying, hey, like you can't wear makeup or you can't do your hair like this and blah, 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 blah. That is when things start to get toxic, where you're doing something because other people are telling you. And even yourself, right? Like I said, you could be telling yourself, I'm not going to do this because I look like trashy or whatever. Like you need to get those types of mindsets out of your head and get more into the feeling of like, what would be fun today? Or what's the theme of the day, right? Today, the theme of the day is black cat energy. How fun to just try something different. And doesn't mean you need to like forever own this aesthetic moving forward, but it's really just getting in the groove of being comfortable with yourself and finding what you love in life. And I think we can all agree, especially from like learning from our parents, if our parents really took the time to love themselves and figured out what they loved in life before they had us, wouldn't our lives be so much better? And wouldn't their lives be so much better? Oh my gosh, we would feel so happy and proud of them. And if you have parents like that, I am so glad. And I hope you realize that that is very rare, because a lot of times parents like to find their validation in their children, and that can be a slippery slope. So taking the time to find an aesthetic like this and see what you like in life is very important. And it's just, if for anything, it's just fun. It's fun to have fun for the sake of having fun. I think that makeup is clearly meant to be fun and creative and joyful, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be what everyone else likes. Like a lot of people I know, they make it a point, people in like the makeup world make it a point that like no one does creative makeup anymore, blah blah blah, and I completely agree. But if you don't like makeup like that, that's also okay. Just do what you like. If you don't like makeup at all and you like doing like fun hairstyles or whatever, like I just really encourage you to get yourself outside of your box and figure out what it is that you love in life and that brings you joy. I never thought that I would dye my hair. I never thought I would dye my hair. And now I'm like, oh, I want to go pink. Like I'm like the type of person now that just wants to have fun, and I want like to see little kids like smile at me when I walk by. Like that brings me so much joy. Like that is a goal sincerely in my life. Like I want my future kids to feel like, oh, my mom does such cool Halloween looks. Like she always goes all out. Like these are the types of goals that I have written down for myself. June decided to join us at the end. I don't know if you can see her, but she's like right behind me. She's all here for the black cat energy. So going back to the struggles that you wrote down, as well as what you would tell a friend going through those same struggles, I want you to also write, you would want your future daughter or your younger self to be proud of, or what would you want them to say about you? For instance, how I said, I would love for my kids to say that I go all out for Halloween, or that they love my hair color, or that they love that I do fun things. Same thing for my younger self. I definitely would be proud that I started to do fun makeup looks and color my hair. So these are the types of things that are really important to help you stay true to yourself and also help discover new aspects of yourself that you never knew were possible. So we are going to wrap up the black cat energy video today, but I hope you learned more about this fun mindset. I never really thought about it in that way, and now I'm definitely going to be envisioning a black cat when I set boundaries, and I think it's going to empower me even more. Feel free to share your personal experiences with this type of mindset, or what you wish to accomplish with this type of mindset, and I will see you next time. Bye.